Good evening, and welcome to the Jordan Small Middle School Visioning Committee. I would like to call this meeting to order. And our first order of business is to look at the minutes from our previous meeting and see if there's any comments to that. Has everybody had a chance to look at them?
Yep.
Yeah? Any comments? Questions?
I'll move to adopt.
I'll second it.
Second? All those in favor? Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Lori. And then, do we have anybody on Zoom right now, Bill?
Not at the moment.
Okay. I have a quick question. I don't want to spread any rumors, but Joe, are you officially our town manager now?
Officially, as of Monday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been really great.
I want to acknowledge that and
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Pete. Yeah, it's been really welcoming of everyone. The support's been pretty overwhelming this week, so
I bet.
it's been very nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then I'd also wanted to mention something for Kayla. And if she comes on, then we'll back up to it. But she just received an award for Maine Citizen Planner of the Year because of her participation in the comprehensive plan. I want to congratulate her for that because that's quite an achievement.
Very good.
It's a great article in the Wyndham Eagle.
That's right. Yep, exactly. I got to thank Karen for pointing that out to me. So, all right. So if we want to move on to our old business, the floor plan for the town hall. I did get a copy of that from Melissa and through Nathan. And today I picked up a full-size plan, which is on the table, so that we can all take a look at that. I think we'll find that interesting when we take a look at what the actual square footage of the town hall is and how it could maybe fit in if we decide to go that way or not. So I wanted to thank Nathan for providing that information. And then the next order of business was head of town departments for space utilization and the Jordan Small floor plan, Parks and Recreation, got that information, and I have incorporated that into our other floor plan. So I was thinking that, we might want to get up and take a look at that and see how that all starts to gel together. And then also Lori had contacted me, this week about doing a post-it exercise. Can you explain it a little bit, Lori? Because
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like what we did at the first open meeting for the comprehensive plan, where there's a map of Raymond and you say which areas you want growth in or which areas you want more housing in. And it was Post-it notes, and you wrote a comment on it if you wanted. It was also columns of, do you want a community center? Do you want to, whatever it was that we wanted. And a lot was gained for the committee based on the input from the town. So what I was thinking is, I'm sure we've all got different visions, probably similar, but different visions of what could be going on at the middle school. So I was thinking, if we are either each responsible for a color, we can just throw our ideas out there, or we can talk about it first and then throw our ideas out there. So if I like the library in the quadrant you had requested, I would put my yellow with an L line, I guess, over in that corner. Just sort of to get a visual of, are we in any kind of agreement before we even go too far? Because if we're in relative agreement, it might be a whole lot easier for us. If we're miles apart, we need to talk through, I think, where we're not in sync.
Yeah.
Just kind of a brainstorming with colors.
sounds good.
Yeah, and I think we probably, before we start, working on we need to be in agreement on what we want the Jordan Small School to have. What municipal, I think we need to be if we can become into an agreement on that, what we want in there.
Right. I agree. I think that's wise. And actually, so that exercise may want to follow after we do something with this spreadsheet,
Great.
where we go through and prioritize some of the different committees and whatnot. I think that will help us, because I know I need to constantly refresh my memory on all of the ideas that we have, because there's a lot of them.
Kayla is on Zoom.
Hi, Kayla. All right. Maybe still getting tuned up. So does everybody want to take a quick look at the floor plan just to kind of see where we're at? I think it'll be a little surprising that there's not much space left right now, the way it is.
That's fine, I'll
Are
just
you okay
squeeze
like
in,
that?
yep.
Okay. Watching from home, one of the things that is really hard to understand what we were doing here. But I don't know if this is
Yeah. I know, I was asked if I could do this on a PDF. So, town hall.
It's town hall.
And what's interesting is, so the total square footage is 3,520 square feet. And just for a quick visual, I took and looked at this area here. That's 4,550 square feet.
Right.
So, it just. Is this working?
You all set?
Thank you. So it really gives us, you know, I mean, that looks, because of the scale that it is compared to the scale of this one, looks as big as this, but in reality, it's as much as, in fact, it's 1,000 square feet less than this area here. But with that said, you can see that having filled in the park and rec, we've got basically 3 spaces that haven't actually been put on somebody's wish list.
And they'd really like more than this too.
Yeah, oh, yeah, they need more than that, yeah.
Right.
Have they said that?
When we did the tour of the town hall.
Yes.
they had more Everybody, the library said they needed more, town hall said they needed more.
Right, yeah. Town hall right now is at the point where they can't expand at all. They have no space for new people to get hired, so,
Storage of things.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So what's the rationale for putting a small gym in there?
It's a, it's actually a,
Talked about that, the library team or the quiet types of activities, and this is more the active rec type activities.
yeah, it's more of a, probably like a registration based, like you're getting dropped off after school. This is a place to hang out before, while your parents are working until they come pick you up.
But the
And
library
this
is
would
another
be like
place
the
that can happen
young adult
too.
collections would be
Yeah.
there as well.
The library, teens, they do use that space as well.
Are you going to need to close off, because they are young and there's childcare here, close off all of this? Or be able to, maybe not necessarily
Yeah,
close
or
it?
just kind of funnel like,
Coming in, right?
yeah, it'd be, I mean,
I would think
you ideally
anything
want
Green would want to use the same.
come in here
entrance.
and then, cut off to the public, coming this way, most likely. But, it can all be worked out. I mean, this is why, multi-purpose, like, if we need to use this as teen space, like, we can use that. Rec is just about finding what's working and kind of inserting it where we have the capability, so.
Well, that kind of leads to having if town hall stuff more in that vicinity. As
To
far
me,
as
that
not
makes
being
more
right near
sense,
the
just
child-
with that,
childcare.
with the meetings being.
I don't know if it's more or less accessible, but.
Do we have 2 childcare spaces because they're for different age ranges?
I would imagine, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard that multiple
then
times, that
Mhm.
like, pre-K or whatever is
And then there's older
one thing, and then a
children?
little bit older.
Okay.
So we're actually gonna, people will drop their children off, you'll hear that, you'll have like a program.
Yep. So I mean, it's kind of like what we have for now. Like our after-school program, they get released, they go right to after-school care. We check them in, and then we are responsible for them until the parents come and pick them up.
At the church?
We're at school right now.
You're at the school,
RES.
okay.
Say we use the stage and gym area right now. So this would just, again, you would have to probably have a designated bus for drop-off, and then they would get checked in and stay there. And then you can program whatever. If you have an hour of gym time, you can use gym time. If you have, something, cooking class, you can hop in there.
And that space wouldn't be used till after school, so it's empty all day.
During the day,
So, I mean,
but it's set up for.
well, I
kids.
mean, you have to, I mean, I think
Yeah,
we can't,
I
we
know.
have to be flexible.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
know.
really do. I mean, you can't have a room all
I
empty,
wouldn't want.
all empty all day.
I
and
wouldn't
then-
want the age-friendly people living in a space
Yeah.
that
Well,
little
that's
kids
a
had
little
been
too
in.
flexible.
Yeah.
So I'll
So-
get
Just get down
Yeah.
and dirty, right?
Could this area be moved to here, like the equipment in this
No.
space be used as a gym when it's not being used for
No, because it's
something or
permanent. That's the
something?
one thing that would be permanent. You don't,
Well, you don't
because you don't want
really
to
need
move
an
gym
office,
equipment.
do you?
I didn't.
What
I
did
was
you say
in public
was
works for 5 years.
involved in equipment?
It's very involved, yeah. So you have like the heavy treadmills, you have the stationary bikes, the fitness racks. Like it's quite an endeavor. But I mean, just to give you an example, in Saco, we had probably a smaller gym and kind of like the community space here. And what happens is you're just lining up all your activities and scheduling. So like your before care is going on here, and then they leave, and then you get pickleball. Then for lunch you have a community supper, you have a senior program. Then after school, then you have after school care. So it kind of can all roll in and commingle in these spaces. It doesn't have to be just designated to one area. So we're multifunctional for sure.
And I think something else that, just to keep in mind is that these spaces are really big. I mean, 26 by 30 is probably much bigger than is needed for meeting and video conferencing.
Right.
This could actually probably be 2 or
These should
4
be,
rooms.
yeah, that should be
When
divided.
you look at it.
Yeah.
So that would, by consolidating some of that opens up space for other things.
Yeah.
Deb, do you know how large the room is at Levy Lane where they play bridge? Would you say like 20 by 40 maybe?
I'm not.
That community room is not very big.
No, so I'm thinking even like
Right.
It's not
half
very
of
big.
this would be at least that big without
Yeah.
a television and
You know, I was wondering, if the space in the library, I mean, that's where they come now and play cribbage and they play,
It's a bridge.
but they play bridge. Is for your folks too, the plays there, and will there, with an expanded library during the day, is there any space in there that you could use for games like,
Yeah,
This
'cause
would
we
be
could
that
probably bring
space.
cribbage back in
Yeah.
Yeah.
and,
That's
use
this
it-
space.
because we have game time down at Jordan Bay now too.
Because you're gonna have so much
Every week.
collections in this end. The only thing that might not have collections is this quiet study area. But everything else is gonna be collections, children's play, and that kind of thing. So there's not gonna be room for really group meetings here. That's what this is for.
this
Yeah,
is,
this is what they're
Collections,
missing.
just to be
Yeah.
clear, that's the books, basically.
Yes,
books,
all
collections.
materials, yeah.
Right, but how many people come, or would come for
I'm
a
not getting a
quiet
lot.
study during the day? No, I'm talking about the,
Study.
yeah.
Yeah, people who are needing to use computers or things like that and may need assistance, they're close by to the
Right.
service desk. So, as I was talking with Richard, he's like, yeah, I'd like to have a little space here, so when people need our help to use the computers.
That's a pretty big
Then we're
space
right
too.
there.
If we're saying these are all big spaces, that's also a very big space.
Right, that's
So-
almost 60 by 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one of these blocks,
Yeah.
Yes.
so. All right. Shall we go back and do some more?
Is it
some more
possible you could
brainstorming?
recap at the beginning what you were saying about the office spaces and the IT space? We had an audio issue.
Town hall fits in
Yeah,
there,
I think we're
yeah.
talking about.
Oh, okay. I think, Bill, what you're asking is this space right here on the floor plan for Jordan Small Middle School. Just quickly scaled it, and that one rectangular space is 65 feet by 70 feet, which is 4,550 square feet. And what the town, what Nathan provided for us of the existing town is square footage of 3,520. So almost more than 1,000 just looking at this one space here.
oh, you mean,
Okay.
yeah, you mean it's
In the window needle. Yes, not that far away.
Yeah, that,
us those, or you only have them that way?
I only have that, so I think this week I'm gonna try to see if I can find the PDF. I might be able to mark it up. All right. All right, the next item that we had on the agenda was to follow up on discussion with the Wyndham New Building Committee. And I sent something out to everybody based on conversation, or actually the voicemail that I got from Barry Tibbetts. Just find it.
print it out if that helps.
There.
So you got it?
I found it, thank you.
Yep.
So they had, there were basically, I think, 6 points to what Barry had told me. And just to back up a little, interestingly enough, in the Wyndham Eagle back in August 2nd of 2024, there was an article about what they were getting ready to do to the Wyndham Middle School. So if anybody wants to take a quick look at that, I'll make that available. So it was interesting. They basically had broken it down to, I think, 3 items that they were looking at putting in there. Their library, park and rec, and then general assistance, which I didn't know exactly how to interpret that, whether that was community center type services or more of a town office type. So they are, so one thing that I think, needs to probably be corrected. So in the voicemail that Barry left me, it says Herman Middle School, but I think we all know it's the Wyndham Middle School. So
I know, I'm confused. I was
I
like,
think-
where's that? I never heard of
yeah,
that.
I think the voicemail just translated it wrong. when it sent it to
okay.
us. So they've been meeting for 4 months, and they anticipate to be working on this project for another 12 months. But they hope to have something that they can report out by the end of this year. So I think, in my opinion, it sounded like they had gone right into a bigger committee.
Yes.
And we're, combining everything, the vision. I kind of like the way that Raymond has set it up. It gives us a little bit more freedom to just brainstorm ideas and then, hand it off to the next group. Let's see. So this was interesting too. I thought the department heads were provided with a 1/4-inch scale drawing, and it was their task to actually put the square footage, their existing square footage, into spaces in the middle school. And then from there, what other services would they put? So they actually are working with a scale drawing. And in this, we're working with a scale drawing, but I think because the scale is, 1/16 inch to a foot, the rooms are much bigger than what you look at and visualize. So that might be an interesting exercise. And maybe that's the next committee. They actually start to physically, determine the size of spaces. There were also, the department heads were asked to identify revenue streams. So, because that's an important thing. They basically, similar to how I think it was Westbrook did it, they became self-supporting with their revenue. I mean, so that's a pretty interesting thing to keep in mind. And they already know what the maintenance of cost and custodial cost is, because that budget is going to now become the responsibility of the 3 departments. And they are already engaged with a construction company, Great Falls Construction, to help guide them. And again, I kind of see that as the next committee after this is they're going to start to have some of those professionals involved.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, any thoughts or questions? Do I need to follow up with Barry? If we have any additional questions, Grace?
Not a question, but when you mentioned the, revenue component to this, I mean, when we're talking about, first of all, some expanded spaces for some places, we're talking about needing more, we've said it many times, more staff, whatever, even if there are already some components of that in current rec budgets, library budget, whatever, we're talking about more. And especially if it's going to be more accessible for people as well.
Right.
So maybe that is something we need to put up as a higher priority, that there be some space left aside for some of what we saw in Westbrook and what they, I don't know what they're exactly contemplating in Wyndham, but in terms of groups, organizations that would help with that, but.
To that, Grace, I would say, in thinking about the visits that we made and just hearing what Wyndham's got going on right now, we have to be cautious because we are Raymond, and we have very few X's in terms of number of small businesses. We have I don't know what the percentage of population, community center is used by a town. Most people that live in Raymond work somewhere else where there are already gyms, where they may use, you know, the library where the kid goes to high school. I don't think we ever want to be anything like any of these larger towns. So to do that, I think we don't want to spread ourselves too thin at the beginning by engaging all of these ideas.
I'm just saying to set aside some space for that potential. I mean, if we're going to have the library there, are we going to have longer hours available for the library? I would like that myself. I don't know if others would. For any of the recreation facilities, what are the potential hours for that might be needed? If it is used a lot, is there more that's needed for upkeep, for custodial, whatever? I'm just trying to think in terms of thinking ahead a bit. If we're just gonna put everything in those spaces and it's going to have a really big impact on, dare I say the T word, taxes, you know, is that gonna fly in terms of the community support? So if there's some way to kind of safeguard some of that space, and maybe it doesn't ever get used, you're right, I'm not sure, and it might not be an organization or a group in town that rents it, it could be some nearby thing too, but again, and I don't even know what that might be.
Kayla has her hand up.
Yep, and, yep.
Hi, Kayla. Kayla, we can't hear you.
Are you muted, Kayla?
Is that better?
There you go, there you go.
It is better.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. So while I agree with the sentiments that we don't, we want to be Raymond, and also, we don't have the small business appetite maybe that a Westbrook does, but if we think about it, we really don't have usable space in Raymond for small businesses to thrive. And that's evidenced by a lot of them starting and not being successful. So I think offering space, to whatever extent that is, that's more affordable for a small business would actually increase the potential of a small business thriving.
And I think we do have some remote workspace already on the floor plan. I would like to caution that we don't focus so much on space that we can rent out. I would rather focus right now on the community needs and space utilization for those support services and activities, and then see how that goes, and if there's space left over. I just don't want the focus to become make money. That's, I want to keep the focus on our vision.
And this building will cost more. It'll cost more. I mean, it'll cost more to get it on the ground, for sure. There'll be a lot, So I think it's something, it's hard not to think about. I know our job was not to worry about money, not to worry just to, but for me, it's hard to think,
It's hard not to.
Smart. These things can be done in phases too.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
like the
That's
first
right.
phase can just be get in there, operate what we're already operating, and then seeing if some of our programs I know will grow just by being there because we have space available. And then from there, looking at our revenues and seeing what is being covered by those revenue streams. And okay, we have the ability to invest into the next phase of this journey. So it doesn't have to be all at once.
Absolutely. I
So-
think that's how Westbrook was. I think they were in
Right.
phases. But personally, this is my personal thought, and for me, the town hall is a priority, and the rec and the library. Those three things is what I feel is a priority for this space. I think that we've needed a town hall for a long time, and then to not get a town hall out of the space, I don't know if that'll make the town very happy, because eventually, and we said from 10 to 15 years we were looking out. Well, 15 years, I don't know what that building will be like over there. So that's personally how I feel, that those are my three priorities in terms of, and then figure it out, how we can fit, how the builders can fit it in, and everybody might not get exactly what they want, but we have our whole municipal operation in there. The library's part of the town now. rec is part of the town, and everybody will be under one roof. And I think, you know, it probably can be done, but you'll have to be realistic.
So going more toward a municipal building than a community center.
Well, I mean, and the community center, I mean, the library and the rec program are what brings the community center into place, and your program. Those people, and they all should be in there. I mean,
I agree with that. I think bringing town hall into the building is fine. Maybe the old town hall is the space that gets rented out or leased out or whatever. I mean,
and the library, I mean, I just think about having the food pantry at that library, in the library, and, you know, a secondhand clothes store like they have at the Wyndham Church. That's run by volunteers. And what was the other? Oh, and even
Library of Things? The Library of Things,
yes,
where you, I guess, rent out tools and.
and the loan closet. That could all be in that space there if unless the town really wants to, you know, sell the property. But
Right.
So two things. When I was talking about reserving some space, to me, what has already been kind of filled in there, not all of that is current, what we're doing. So I would just suggest everything that, if this is the direction we're going in, everything that's currently being done, but that leaves some space to hold off in a phase to see, are we gonna put something more in there? I'm thinking of like the computer lab type of a place, or the, whatever, the remote workspace, things like that. So that's left as a, you know, if there isn't some need for whatever, some sort of revenue type of a stream, or there's no possibility of that even happening, that's another phase, because that's something people would like to see, but it's not a current need, I would say. It is really more of a wish list type of a need. And you mentioned something about municipal, and that's odd, because actually in reading this over, I'm thinking, well, if town hall's gonna be there, is this a community center, or is this Raymond Municipal Center? You know, I mean, it just,
well, it's
it
both.
is.
It's everything.
It
The
is.
rec
Right,
center,
but I mean,
you can
just in terms of the name.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
as long as we have limits and make sure that we're not getting a lot of scope creep, where once the municipal offices are in there, they don't start to grow and spread. They have their space, and that's where they have to stay. So, you know, as long as we have good controls on things, I'm fine with having municipal offices in there, as long as there's a good understanding going in how things are gonna be. And maybe that's gonna help if we vacate that building. Either we sell it, we lease it, we do something with it. Maybe that's the way, instead of worrying about making space for leasing opportunities and things.
Okay, so I'm gonna rein this in a little bit, because you guys have really jumped ahead to my bullets for new business. And I want to give us a chance to do a couple more exercises to help us with that, those thoughts and where we're headed. So the next thing I had on the follow-up was follow-up with Rolf, and did run into him this week, and we chatted, and it was about, you know, whether our completion was set in stone or whether we could have more time if we needed to. So he reminded me that this was supposed to be a short-term committee, but that if we needed more time, we could have more time. That was not an issue. The time frame they gave us was guidelines to try to keep it so that we were moving along as quickly and efficiently as we could. So appreciate that. So then moving on to the next thing I had was compiling ideas and developing a method for reporting to the select board. We talked a little bit about this at the last meeting, and I just want to get some feedback from the group as what I'm hearing is if we have a mission statement that we collectively agree on, and then the joint small floor plan, once we get that to a point where we feel that it's good to hand off. My notebook, the USB electronic files, and then you said there's a shared drive as well, Joe?
Yeah, we've been putting everything in there
Okay.
that we can hand off to that next committee as resource, or we can compile everything to one document and kind of
Yep.
everything that we've done so that it can be referenced for the next committee. So
Okay.
that's a possibility.
And then I was thinking a summary report. If we have those 4 things, do we feel like that will be enough to handoff. And I see that Kayla's got her hand up, so I'm going to ask Kayla to chime in here.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask about your further statement about your conversation with the chair of the select board. Did he also provide further direction on what the expectation of this committee was?
I did not have that conversation with Rolf. I forgot to do that, Kayla, so thanks for reminding me. If the committee wants me to follow up with Rolf on that, I will do that.
Well, I think if anything, if we exceed what was expected, I mean, they can just ignore it if they choose to. I don't know, it just, it's part of the overall thinking. I understand we could have been done really in one meeting with, here's a list of things we'd like to see,
Right.
without all the other things we've done, and just sort of offer them some of the, I just want to, I'll stop and say, any committee I'm on next, I really would like for you to chair, because I'm looking at this notebook that you've kept of everything, Pete.
Great.
So why not offer that, even though it's above and beyond what I think that they were asking the group to do? So,
Couldn't help ourselves, that's all. We couldn't help ourselves.
Right, I think, and
Right.
that's really the beauty of this committee
Yeah.
is that we're freelancing and open to ideas, so I'm inclined to agree that whatever we have for thoughts, that can probably be even addressed in a summary report.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's always better
Yeah.
to have more than, scrambled, because we didn't cover everything.
Right, and I think it would save the next committee some time, because they'll recognize the fact that, we've already put suggestions out there. They might say yay or nay, but at least, they don't have to rethink it all,
not that they might not have more ideas too, but.
right?
Sure they
Right.
will.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a great plan. I do have a concern about the mission statement. Deb, what you wrote up was excellent. But I've been on committees writing mission statements and vision statements, and they can suck the life out of you, just developing them in a way that we all
Can
agree
be
on.
really time consuming, yes.
I would say in some way we use what our charter was in the application and kind of massage it a little bit, but I think our focus really should be on much more tangible decisions or recommendations.
So someone brought up, what's the mission of the community center? So that's kind of what I was thinking about
Right.
when I was pulling some language together. Is that beyond the scope of what this committee should be doing? Or is that sort of like an extra where it might help guide the next committee?
Well, if they-
And this, no, go ahead.
Until the next committee decides what actually does go in there from whatever recommendations we're offering them, I guess you wouldn't really know what the mission and vision are. I mean, what if they decide, well, this isn't really gonna fit with what we've identified pretty much as the three entities for whatever reason? I mean, I guess I would leave it up to them, which is fine, because otherwise I was gonna start wordsmithing, which you did, which I
Yeah.
thank you for doing that, because it's always
Mhm.
easier to look at something and
Yeah.
then like, oh, how about this? So, but
Right.
maybe I don't know, I hadn't thought about that, Lori, so. that makes
But I think
sense.
that's the point of doing something like that, is that we're trying to guide what happens next when it starts to get to the implementation of things. We want the functioning to follow what has been the mission decided or the vision. We don't want the other way around, where somebody decides, well, I guess we can do that and we can do that, and then you make up the mission from that. I want to see it the other way around, so that you've always got your guiding principles first.
Well, may not be exactly what the select board had envisioned.
Mhm.
And when
Well-
they envisioned this, it seems, may not be what they thought was our vision.
But that's our job, is to say this is what the community visions for this space. And so it's your job to make it happen as much as you can, as much as we can afford or can do. But here's what we're really wanting for this space.
What we're wanting
These-
for the space.
This is what we want, the community wants, these activities and these resources. And so, that's what I really want to provide the guidance, but also hold them to it. 'Cause
But do
they,
we know the community, do we actually know, and we know what the community spoke about in the comprehensive plan? Sure.
They wanted
Mhm.
a place that brings the community together.
Right.
Right.
So,
It
Right,
was
so-
something along those
Right,
lines.
that's why
Kayla-
we're
Kayla
here.
might
We're
know the
here to
better
represent the
wording.
community.
Yeah, Kayla's got her hand up again, and since
Yeah.
she was part of the comprehensive
Yeah.
plan. Kayla?
Sorry, I just want to step in for a second because I feel it's really important to distinguish what the community may want versus what this committee is saying that they want. And we do know a little bit about what the community wants based on feedback from the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
But I personally would like to see a more directed effort on the town's part, maybe a little later, towards saying, what does the community want this space to be? And something that's a little bit more involved than a pom-pom survey. Despite how popular that was, I still don't think that that was the great methodology. Now, I also realized that the library sent out a survey and Rec sent out a survey, but those were very targeted surveys based on what would you like to see from the Rec and what would you like to see from the library. But it really didn't address what the community wants to see. So I just want to make sure we don't lose sight of the comprehensive plan and that we really haven't surveyed the community properly yet.
that's right,
Right.
that's right.
Good point.
Yeah.
And do you, Kayla, just out of curiosity, is that something you see as the next committee actually putting together some kind of a survey that would be widespread to the community?
I would think that that would be up to either the select board or town management to decide how to handle. I mean, we have limited capabilities and no funds. So I think that's a little outside of the purview of this committee because we don't really have the capability to put such a thing together and then disperse it.
Right.
You know, the only
But I
way,
think-
we-
That's a great point.
I think that that's something that we can recommend as part of our package of recommendations.
Yeah.
Is that there be a very concerted effort to reach out to the whole community very broadly with very broad questions, not directed towards particular departments, but very broad. Because again, the comprehensive plan, we know that they want more community space, but we didn't really ask them specifics about what that means to them. And I think that that's something that we need to get to the bottom of, but that's beyond the scope of this particular committee, in my opinion.
So might something be in part of what is passed to the next committee, to the select board, and then to the next committee, is we recommend a survey that shares somehow very briefly, here's what this committee came up with as some recommendations, and survey somehow the full community on that, to be sure that there's a chance for them to weigh in.
unfortunately, our surveys, you know, you don't really get.
You don't.
It's,
No,
you know, we
with every-
survey it, but it's not really reflective.
They're not effective either.
You know, you get the answer from the community when the price tag's attached. And then that's when it comes down to what they really want. It has to be attached to a price tag.
Understood, but before somebody goes working on an implementation and a cost of architect or whatever, I mean, wouldn't it be good to just, to me, it's sort of a double check, because I think there is a lot in the draft comprehensive plan
Agreed.
that can be directed, but just to be sure, if that's a better way for the town to go prior to
Sorry.
anything more being spent.
I didn't want to raise my hand again.
No.
I also just want to, echo that it doesn't have to be a survey. You can hold public hearings. I mean, there's other ways to bring a community together and gain their input.
I also think we need to trust the library and the rec department that they know what their patrons,
And
users
the town hall?
need.
And the town hall?
And the town hall, of course.
Yeah, based on what they're already doing.
Exactly. I think they know what the community is asking for and what they need from their work and their observations. I think it's kind of redundant to do a whole community survey again, because usually those surveys, people just want more of what they're already getting.
Did Wyndham do a survey, or did they just come together and decide?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't see
I
a
did-
reference to that.
Yeah,
I didn't either.
so they came together with their town manager and all the
Oh.
department heads and
Yeah, see,
decided.
I actually thought they did. They had some recent community survey. I don't know that they did another one, but I thought I
Yeah.
read something, sorry. I'll look and see if I have that.
Okay. Yeah, and I think the way that they set up their committee was different than ours. They've already jumped into the next level.
No, it was a
And
while
so they
ago.
probably have some budget.
Yeah, 19.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
19.
decided what
Yeah.
they wanted in there.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
especially if they have an architect on staff, that kind of helps direct, I think, what information they're trying to get to figure out the layout and who, if a poll is necessary, if it's more of the department heads coming in and talking about what their operations are and needs. So I think that's when you kind of get into that, that kind of nitty gritty stuff is in that implementation and having an architect and on the committee that's kind of pushing the direction.
That's why Great Falls is working with them right now, so they,
Okay, we good on that for the time being, and we'll probably
Just
come back to it.
A quick one on the Jordan Small floor plan as the line item. I think we also wanted to make recommendations for uses of buildings that would no longer be used, that the town owns.
Yeah, I think that could probably be part of the summary report, or do you think we should keep it as a
no,
separate report?
part of the summary.
Part of the
report,
summary.
Yeah,
Okay.
lots of options.
And that's why the architect will probably help too, because, this is shrinking and everything, but, they may say, oh, well, this can work together, this is bigger space than you thought it was, and so I leave it to people who know what they're doing.
Right,
I see that
actually.
too, Deb. I see that they're gonna take, our vision, and they're gonna start to really
Yeah.
put things together.
How come you didn't put this
that,
together?
Especially, size and space, they'll be able to say, well, you can actually fit these 4 things in this space, and, you've got plenty of room.
Yeah.
So,
But I think this committee's done a great job of just gathering as many
Needs, yeah.
needs, options, ideas, visually seeing other places to kind of
yeah.
see what a complete concept looks like. So I think that's the bulk of what we're trying to accomplish. I think everyone's done a great job with that. No shortage of ideas here, so.
Right.
Or
Which leads in-
opinions.
Right,
Which leads into our next thing, I think.
great.
So if we could take the Excel spreadsheet, and Sue had some printed off if you don't have a copy of it.
Oh,
And
it's
they're-
on one
they're
page that
big
you can
size.
read? I did,
It's actually
I
two-
could use this,
2 pages,
This don't-
but,
yeah.
3 pages almost.
except it's
But,
sticking together now, oh dear.
Oh, there's more, yeah, this here's one more.
I'll take my visual, I have to do a lot of scrolling.
Yes, I know, these, yeah, I know.
Somebody need one?
Somebody do it?
Deb, do you need one of
Too
these?
many papers, huh?
It ended up being like 2 1/3 pages.
That's better
Well-
than this.
Oh, my goodness.
I
That's where I
never
was
found
headed,
the way to
too.
print it out, so,
Yeah,
anyway, I'm fine.
and when you have a printer
Do you
that's
want-
11 by 7.
Yeah,
one
if you
of this?
have one. I thought I had it.
There you go.
It's nice and big too.
So
Mine's bigger.
just to kind of explain a little bit of what this is our original Word document where we had brainstormed stuff. I put it in an Excel file, and then based on our discussion last week where we had suggested that these different items fall into one of these categories of municipal park and rec, I tried to interpret that and include it. I also added some notes of things that we have mentioned that have come up, like the fact that Pilates Club meets in the safety building, and yes, they are important to our community, but they already have space, so we don't need to necessarily consider them for Jordan Small Middle School. So I think the first column, I just thought we could go down through the list and prioritize, and that would help us to focus on, what we really are thinking we want to recommend for Jordan Small Middle School. So basically, high, medium, and low, just to keep it simple. And I figured we'd just go down through the list and see what people think. So the Veterans Center, high, medium, or low?
Low.
It's, yeah,
Just
when
don't
that
know
just,
how many there are.
We don't. And I'd like to say too that, Joe, the Parks and Recs have done such an amazing job of generating the revenue as part of building the community through athletics. I think almost across the board, we could say anything Parks and Rec is high. Same as I think we could say anything library is high, because we all understand, and we got from the comprehensive plan that these are significant things for the town of Raymond.
Yeah, we call it the core programs.
Yes.
You know, those type of things,
Yep.
childcare, summer camp,
Is there any
Yes,
kind of
exactly.
veterans center now?
senior program.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means, Veterans
So
Center.
Wyndham has a,
Yeah, they had a,
Yeah,
they
they
had a
do.
veteran center.
Yeah.
I mean, they certainly could book a room, just like everybody,
Well, they use
anybody else.
they use the
but-
Veteran Center in Wyndham, and there's one in Naples. I mean,
Yeah.
So that's
That
not
might be
really.
something that I could pulse Rolf for too, because in his newsletter, he talked a lot about veterans, and I don't know if that's something he's focusing on in the legislature or not, but he might have some thoughts. So just, do we want to say high, medium, or low? Do we have a consensus?
Well,
I'd say low, but I feel a little bad saying low, but I would say.
Until we get more
Just in
information.
terms of the population
Well-
possibility, yeah.
it seems
Yeah.
like there's already resources for them in the area.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So to me,
Yeah.
that would make it low
All right.
to us.
Basketball tournaments, we're going to say high based on what was just recommended, I think.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees?
Well, again, do we have tournaments of just
Yeah.
rec teams, or? Do
We have leagues right now.
We do.
We don't have this would be more of rental revenue, probably, if you rent out for basketball tournaments to
Well,
an
yeah.
organization.
Oh,
I wouldn't
So,
put high.
no, that wouldn't
So
be high.
do
Where do
we
you?
host basketball games? Yes. We're not necessarily running tournaments.
No. So that would be low.
This is fee-based.
All right. So
Low.
low or medium? I mean, how much
I-
effort do you think, Joe, it is to like coordinate a tournament?
In my experience, I stay away from that. And if people are running tournaments for, say, AAU, anything like that, you are setting a rental rate. So you just the rental space, which is
So you don't-
less of a burden on staff and stuff like that. So
Okay.
that's how we've done it in spaces that I've operated. We just rent it out, and you have a set rental rate, and you just have one staff kind of covering the time there. So
All right. Well, that helps to clarify. Thank you. Exercise classes?
I don't know, someone mentioned a track of, a place for people to walk, around, and I just thought that was an excellent idea because I struggle to find a place, especially in the winter, to get that walking in.
Wyndham
know,
High
that
School,
is-
Wyndham Adult, I've done that, but it's a distance to
20
go
minutes
from
each
here.
way,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know, yeah,
I know the new middle school's going to have a walking track in the gym.
that's true.
Oh, yeah, that's going to, yeah. So, I mean, that's far to go for,
But exercise
But I don't think there's
classes
much
is
to a
different.
walking track, right?
it is, no, they're going to have a walking track built in the gym. And they wanted to do it in the high school, but they ran out of money. So it's like St. Joe's. Does St. Joe's have one of
elevated
those?
one, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what-
Elevated track. around
Yeah,
there.
that's what they're going to have in the in the
But to
new
have
middle
one
school.
at Jordan Small would be easy,
you-
right? Just
we-
come in
Oh,
and
yeah.
walk
You can even
around.
just walk the halls too.
Yeah, I
and they
think that'd be
walk.
great.
They
Have a
walk.
route.
The elderly, not elderly, but they use the whole high school in the evening as a walking
Right,
place
that's
now.
what I'd said, but it's a distance away. But exercise classes is more than just
This is
walking.
different,
It's-
Right.
It's both,
I just-
so,
yeah.
So I would,
I put that
High.
medium anyway.
medium.
Is this,
I'd-
is
At
this
least me.
low cost and free classes?
We need a silver sneakers class.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
what we
That
need.
would-
Silver
Alright.
sneakers.
That-
'Cause that-
Oh,
I
that's-
think that's high, a high
Yeah,
priority.
because even right now,
Yeah, I
we
like
can't
high,
offer
too.
any of that.
No.
Even the church, like it's a concrete floor. Very the finish is kind of off. It collects a lot of dirt, so like you'd really want a cleaned wood
Yeah.
Right.
area.
All right. I'm going to
Um,
put it medium for now.
Yeah.
I think it's high.
I think it's high.
I think
High.
encouraging
Okay.
We
physical
need to get it-
activity is very
exercise
important
in
in
our-
the community.
All right.
You don't need I mean, I go to a couple different silver sneaker programs, and it's not, the floor is, it's with that little gym down there, and then over at PNF. It's not, there's nothing really special about the space,
No, just
Right.
and it's, we're not running around like,
not playing tag. or
Yeah,
anything.
right.
Yeah.
we're sitting in the chairs,
Yeah.
you know?
Dodgeball.
You have that yoga room.
But other,
Yeah.
but other
You had a
exercise
space,
classes
kind of.
would.
Yeah.
What?
Maybe
Exercise.
silver
Right.
sneakers wouldn't,
Yeah,
but
sure.
other exercise.
Yeah,
classes.
yeah, I
this
know
is
it.
broader, so.
Yeah.
That's for,
Yeah, it's fairly broad, I
Yeah.
think, too.
Sorry, we
Music.
have to run out real quick. Basketball program. The balls are in my car, so and
Okay.
it's locked.
Uh-oh.
You want us to keep going?
Yeah, you guys go.
All right. Music lessons, concerts.
Well, with the 5 through 8 gone, I don't think it's as much for concerts. They have them down at the high school anyway. So
Yeah.
K4 wouldn't be having
There might be a
concerts.
community concert. There used to be, what was the Grange Hall, there would be some music things.
Yeah,
and-
they've had music concert down the
But
library.
again, I'd
too.
Yeah.
put L for
And the library has incorporated
Right.
into
they
their
have as well,
tiny
outside.
space.
Oh, inside?
Yeah, then
I'm
we have
thinking like
concerts there.
outdoor concerts, things like that too. I think this is low to medium for now. I mean, this is one of those
Yeah.
things that can be developed over time.
Right.
Yeah, invest.
And I guess that's the thing, for priority, we should look at it that way, Deb, that this is, maybe just at this point in time, but this could
Right.
obviously all be expanded.
Right, but what's immediate?
What's
I
what's
guess, a
immediate?
priority.
What do we think is immediately needed? Conferences,
Well, if you mean conference space or conference like as far as meetings,
I don't know.
I'd say
I see,
low.
so this bunch of items mostly comes from what Kayla brainstormed on
Right.
the first one. So I interpreted conferences, Kayla, as making space available for maybe businesses or organizations that wanted to have outside conferences. And it would be different from a conference space
nonprofit,
in a community
yeah.
thing.
That's correct. It's just a space.
It's just a space. Okay.
Well, my thought would be for-profit meeting spaces are less priority than meeting spaces for nonprofit organizations.
But
Like
it's
the
still-
Boy Scouts and the historical genealogy groups and the, AARP. I think those meetings are more priority than renting it out for a business meeting or a staff training, or if that's what that means.
Okay.
So,
But
all of that could be in the space that is currently the library at
Library,
Jordan
yeah.
Small.
That's what I was
So,
thinking,
yeah.
is that the library has already
If it's a group.
put that vision forward
Yeah.
as far as
Like selectmen's meetings.
the
would meet
nonprofit.
there and-
Yeah.
type conference
Mhm.
spaces.
Yeah,
Okay.
so what are we giving that? What are we giving that?
I'd say-
What?
It sounds to me like it's low
Low?
because
Yeah, I'd
the
say-
library's already taken care of what we would have considered as the high priority side of things.
Okay.
Food pantry, low because we're actually probably going to say that it should go in the old library.
Can we decide that?
I think
Yeah.
we can advise it in our,
Well, if we put it down as a,
Because
as
it
a
is
high.
high
but it
priority.
right.
So maybe that would make, some space would be made available for it. If we put it as a high, because it does need a new space, but it
And
doesn't.
under notes, just
I
say
think
not
that,
necessarily.
I like that better, saying it that way, that make it high and then make a note
It
that.
needs a
Alternative
house.
site or
yeah.
offsite.
And then, it doesn't have to be in that space, yeah.
All right, family services,
Tell-
all right. So I'll split those two up.
Okay.
And then small businesses,
Say low, given the
Say low.
conversation.
Low, I
Well, and
guess.
see what we can do, yeah.
right? Before and after school daycare, high.
High.
Thrift store,
Medium?
Well, that's an
that's what came to
that's an
mind.
off-site,
Maybe, yeah.
could
the
be.
food pantry, right? That's
Could
kind
be.
of that same
That's a maybe. I
situation.
don't know what kind of
And-
space
and-
or usage.
Yeah, because Wyndham has a
Yeah.
clothes closet over
Well,
there,
they
too.
have the closed, they have the loan closet, and they have
Underneath
the thrift shop at the church.
Yeah,
Now, the
might be-
church RVCC used to have a thrift shop.
Yes,
And
it
I don't
did.
know how active that was, or if it was open to the community or just church members. But we could try, I could be happy to look into how it was used, how frequently.
It
how-
wasn't frequent, it wasn't open frequently, but it was open once in a while,
Okay.
yeah. And the Wyndham one is where the other thrift shop is, and that's open like a couple days a week, half days,
So maybe medium, and we could go
Well,
up
that-
and down from there when we could learn more.
I'd put it low, actually,
I think it's low.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, blood drives,
I think it's low. I don't
When was the
know how
last
others
time we
feel.
had one? I remember giving, but I don't remember having had one here.
The Lions used to run that, and we had a lot of trouble with the Red Cross. the way they ran things wasn't in keeping with our success.
Okay.
I'll just say.
Yep.
And there's,
had-
there's,
we've
there's a
had-
lot of opportunities around.
I go to Casco and they're great.
Yeah, there's Casco, there's the Wyndham Church.
We had one at
and
the
go
high
over
school
to
years ago.
Pineland. Pineland's really
That's
nice, you
right.
get free cheese.
Oh, up at Casco, they have treats every time, chocolates, chocolate strawberries.
All right, low, okay.
Adult education.
Adult education,
Hi.
Low, because
I think it's a medium because we have a program that we can build on, and if we can get people to come,
It'd be
it's
nice
almost
to try
exactly
it.
what a community center is for. So if we
Right.
don't have to
Yeah.
get into the weeds with programming,
Exactly.
providing a space, I think at least a medium. That's,
Yeah.
I think so.
okay, sounds good.
right?
Well, I would even say high, but it
I
doesn't
would
need
say
to be.
hi, but
okay,
It
let's say
doesn't
hi.
need to be its own space, as we've said, it, it's used
Available.
at different times and whatever.
Well, yeah, adult ed are usually in the evening, so
Yeah. that's
be a
true.
space in the daytime that would be available.
Right.
Tax assistance,
Where's, where
what do you mean by that? Do you mean helping people with their taxes? Like,
So
like the AARP gives?
So that would be part of the senior.
That was
Yeah,
my understanding.
that's
Yeah, my
gonna get
husband does a lot of
covered.
ones down in Jordan Bay. So,
Yeah, that's gonna
Yeah.
get covered under either the library or the senior.
yeah, they probably have a place in the library.
Yeah.
You could hold that.
A lot of libraries hold those kinds of sessions.
But it is
With- with
important
the-
because they really don't.
Okay, I'll clarify it that, in that direction, and then do we think that that's high, medium, or low?
I think it's high. I think a lot of people aren't getting the resources they need.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right.
Intergenerational meetings and events.
that's high.
what would an example of that be?
I would see it as programming where you've got either intergenerational, you're trying to bring families together, you're trying to bring, say, grandparent caregivers with their grandchildren, trying to have activities for them to do.
Big brother, big sister, I don't know. I like that program.
Well, you're doing that, Debbie, with the
Techn-
card, the pen pals and
Right,
the bingo.
Technology and how support.
You are with the school. You're doing that with the
Yeah.
school kids.
But that might be able to be the library. If now that they have rooms, they could,
Exactly, yeah, those rooms could be
might
used
be
for
used
those
for
kinds
that
of
stuff.
programming activities, certainly.
Okay, sounds good. Warming and Emergency Center,
Hi.
I agree.
you've been waiting for that one.
Yes, 5 days without heat and electricity was kind of scary.
Scouts, low because they already meet at the safety building.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's just another group that can book a room, so,
Right, Lions
Need it.
Club, same thing.
Same
yeah.
thing.
Cafeteria, I would say retaining what we already have. And leave that, so
Yeah.
That's
that
high.
high.
Yes.
Medical closet,
Well,
Hi.
I think it's easy enough to do with some outreach. If
yeah.
we can find the space
Right.
for goods, then yeah, we should.
I think that's
we
the thing,
should.
is just having a space for it, because I know I've got a basement full of stuff that I'd like to put in a medical
get rid
closet
of
somewhere.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think possibly even Wyndham has 4,000 of one item and only 4 of another. They'd be happy getting rid of.
Sometimes they are willing to,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
yeah, are you sure you
Yes.
don't need it? And you don't, you can have it for a while too, so.
So if it's
Mhm.
easy to do, I say it's a high. I mean, it may not have.
And when you need
kind
it,
of
you need it
investment.
right
I
away.
agree.
And that's a good support for the community for,
It really
you
is.
know,
Some of that stuff can get expensive.
yeah.
Remote workspace, offices,
I think that's a high need. People need space, they want private workspace, they
That's-
want private meeting space.
Again, and I understand they may need tech assistance, but do we provide them with a workspace or an office? To me, that's a low.
Yeah, Pete, you had sent out something about incubator space.
right? That was from something that Bill had provided. And I think that was a lot of good ideas to maybe generate some revenue and to get new businesses started, entrepreneurs that wanted to, and there was a way for bringing them in incrementally, and then, eventually they would be providing services back to the town.
So one of those things that we might move into if we have the space.
Right.
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 Well, and even home-based business people who are trying to develop their own online businesses and things like that, they still need a place to go to connect to the internet if they don't have a good connection or can't afford it at home. So we're seeing a lot of use of these remote workspaces in libraries. And you've also got independent contractors and people that travel throughout the day. They may need a space to just jump in and go submit a report, or you have people that come and need to download or upload videos or, marketing things for their businesses. So we're seeing more use of our remote workspaces throughout the state.
But is that, maybe I've taped this wrong, my pages, is that leased space?
No,
Because that's what I see.
It's here under library and leased.
Yeah, I've got it listed twice.
I think the
Okay.
incubator is more of a leased environment where you've got someone providing access to a printer and perhaps an administrative staff or file cabinets. That's very different
Yeah.
than using it for,
if you
like the
want to
library
go
does right now.
with a paid co-working space, then that they actually lease office space. Some of these co-working spaces, they might have lockers, they might have an actual office space that small businesses can use.
It feels like that's
And
something.
that's a
If you're gonna do a home business, it's a home business. If you need some assistance and there's, that's available in the library or wherever, that's great, but yeah.
Mm.
So if somebody says hi and I say low, can we go at least middle?
Well, and
I
we
think it's
also-
high for the library,
Yeah, it's
but I
high
think
for
it
the
may be lower
library.
for the paid working space.
And then also the seasonal people who come here, it's
So-
high for them to have a place to go. When they're at camp in the summer, it's good for them to have a place to go to work, do some work.
Experience.
So I can split it up
Might
that
be
way.
my
Dunkin'
own-
Donuts
might be
loves to
my
have
own
people
bias.
come in and use it.
It's my own bias, I guess. I'll be quiet.
No, that's, right on.
I agree with you.
It's a way to support economic development locally, so.
Yeah, it's something to look into later.
I'll try to split it out so that it's clear whether it's library or incubator.
Okay.
Private space for counseling support.
I would say high.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say, that's
what's-
similar to family services,
I was gonna
number
say,
7.
Yeah,
ties
what's the
in.
difference?
Yeah, it ties in with that.
So we said high with that, so maybe what I'll do is I'll kind of combine
Incorporate
those
it.
two. Yeah,
That goes into the need for private meeting spaces.
yeah.
That feeds into that.
Recycling, garbage to gardens,
That would be outdoor.
Yeah, we already have the garden.
right.
Yeah, and they,
We already.
I mean,
Yeah, plenty of garbage.
I see it as low because, you can do more with composting and all that, but that's programming that can be developed as we go.
yeah, that's something to look into.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
connected with the garden and greenhouse too.
Yeah, it might be
so
good to start with a garden and then,
Kind of combine them.
mm.
I just wouldn't want to lose sight of that
Oh,
because this town
we have a
needs to,
garden.
this
Yeah,
town needs to
that's-
be doing more with recycling.
Yeah.
And part of that could be composting and that could be garbage to
Right.
gardens for people. So
Yeah, haven't we had
Just combine it.
challenges with recycling in the past?
I'll talk
Yes.
to you after the meeting.
Yeah,
Oh.
Okay, so, what are
But if we did it
putting
better-
on, what are we putting on that one? Medium or high or?
so medium and go to recycling, kind of?
Well, if you're combining it, I would say garden and greenhouse might
Right.
be, unless the community garden is going to still be available. But
Yeah, I think it's there.
Yeah, it's still there.
But
the
it's not
community
owned
garden,
by,
But they could still use it. I mean,
do
it's
we
not-
know that?
Well, they use it now. I mean, it's not like you can't use it if the library's not there. I don't think that's the
Right.
case.
I would say at least medium, but there's also the space at Jordan Small already.
Yeah, that little garden, yeah.
In the greenhouse.
So it'd be nice not to let that
Not
die
go,
on
yeah.
that space,
So
and to
maybe-
keep the greenhouse, because they need some attention, and, but, it'd be nice to keep, I put it,
So maybe garbage to gardens is low, but keep the garden and see if we can move toward
Yeah.
composting.
yeah.
Right. Administrative office for community center,
So this was mine, just because of the fact that as you're adding all the space, you're adding a lot of work. And Parks and Rec has the registration system, that's huge. I mean, I was picturing an admin doing that full-time at least for the entire building. But if you've got a system now that,
That was the good thing about not having an office. Front-facing office, that 99% of our registrations for programming is done through the online system, so.
and do you see any reason that that couldn't be expanded through whatever it is we do here?
Yeah, I mean, it still would probably be good to have an admin type office, like if you're checking in or need help registering, or if it's like a membership type piece. But I don't think it needs to be as dedicated, as
So-
it has like an office hours type thing, because most
There
of
needs
it's
to be a
online.
phone number to call, a
Yeah.
person to go see if the
Yeah,
toilet's overflowing.
yeah.
So is that high but already part of Park and Rec?
Yeah, I think it's just having a space to have our system, computers in there, a cash drawer.
But wouldn't the director, I mean, there's a director's office for Park and Rec, there's
Yeah, there's
librarian's
an-
office for
yeah.
the library,
Yeah.
towns have
The
office.
town's got their offices, so you don't, I
Additional
mean,
office needed, or?
There are a
Yeah,
few
I
small
guess,
offices
take
there
care of
just
them.
before the end of Raymond Rec things, right? But where the kids go out to the playground, there's a couple offices there, and
yeah.
then across the way, there's an office that could be
So
made.
this would be more of like so we've called it like a building monitor. Someone, like if there's times that full-time staff aren't there that need coverage, like you have this space to check the schedule, to register people, to observe like the areas that are being used during off hours, weekends. So it's like
Is it like reception? I mean.
it's kind of like a
reception area?
reception, yeah.
And would they also be like keeping an eye on the security cameras
Yeah,
and
they
things
go
like that?
Yeah, they have security cameras. They could see into the gym, maybe, or see, have a camera that's
So
watching where in the cafeteria. So
So that's where there's
Would it-
additional staff that will
Would be
definitely be
manned,
needed.
yeah.
yeah,
That will-
additional staff.
so in the past, like these type of things, like are covered under our revenues. So if you're renting something, it's not coming out of our general fund. It's coming out of those revenues to cover that person. That
But
is
that's for the
doing this.
Parks and Rec, so if we're
Parks and
now
Rec.
also doing that for everything else in the building.
The library.
That would
The
be
library would
expanded.
just fold into what they're already doing.
Well, the stuff would be during the hours that the librarians are there.
Yes,
It's not extra,
right.
you know,
Right,
so
this
they'd
is
already
extra.
be there, the staff.
But again,
But it's
those
sta-
hours would likely need to be expanded.
And no,
So-
I think it's
Yeah.
something that you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. I mean, this has all got a dollar sign
Yeah.
attached to it, and,
I'm just saying, right now, Parks Rec is doing that. right
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So
It's
they're
just-
doing it. So,
it's
so is
not
that,
uncommon.
it's
It's not
already
going to
being-
change anything because if
So low, I guess, what I'm
Yes.
hearing.
Low,
yeah.
low to medium.
All right, you audios, you're up.
Thank you, Bill. Use of roof for solar array.
I would say hi.
Everybody feel that way? I mean, it's
Sure.
I have
Yeah.
no
Was
idea.
it-
probably, somebody write a grant. It's probably something
Mhm.
that's going to get taken care
I
of.
don't know.
And there are
The
towns
space
that
is
have
already
done that.
there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Community meals, high.
Hi,
Yeah, I'd
yes.
like to do that.
Summer feeding station.
And summer feeding station.
Is this
Does
through
that-
RSU 14?
So well, who knows going forward? I'll just put it that way.
Oh, that's right.
So, because if they are using Raymond Elementary, if there's, I don't know how the distribution has been, I'm really not familiar enough with it to say, but I don't know that that needs to be part of this building if it's part
I
of what
agree.
the school is able to do.
And the school
But if
during the.
not-
Yeah.
I know when we looked into this as kind of the summer camp being a feeding space that could then translate to our kids having lunches, that we didn't qualify to be like that satellite location.
You didn't?
Oh, we
did
didn't?
not.
No.
Yeah, so I don't know if this would change just because of the area we're in or not, but that was at Camp Hines, so,
I know
Oh, you
during,
didn't qualify because it was a camp?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I
So,
see.
okay.
or
I would
Raymond,
just say-
in general.
Yeah,
so.
well, when
We
they
did-
did it through the pandemic, and
I was
they,
just gonna
and they
say that.
prepared the food in Wyndham, and they brought it here and
we
with
bagged
vans,
it.
and it was a whole, and they had volunteers drive the food to houses, and it's,
Well, there's ongoing ways that that's happening for some I didn't read the full email, because it's a continuation of some program or something. But going forward, I don't know what there will be for
I
funding from
agree, I agree.
Yeah.
federal for
Yeah.
That's
anybody.
I think
So,
kids and hunger are a high priority for thinking people. I think we should try
Most of
to
us.
incorporate it as a high priority
If the school is not.
if the school is not.
Okay, all right, good.
So do we have somewhere on here that, we talked at one point about having a food, not a food pantry, because we already have that, but a place that, you know, if people need, you know, canned goods or, you know, things that really don't expire much that we could have available for people to come in, kind of like a, you know, summer feeding, but to have a space for food for
How
people who,
How is that different from a food pantry, I guess?
because that's organized, that's something that they organize and do. Do they have a place that, oh, by the way, I'm running low, you know, can I drop by? I mean,
Before COVID, the clients would walk through and they would be given certain things and they would say, oh, I need an extra peanut butter, and they would be able to take it.
okay.
So there are shelves for that. There's just no space,
But it's
and
only open like that.
it's only open once a month.
But I'm just wondering, people, now that it's once a month, people are running low, and I'm getting the feeling of those people that need it food the week before food pantry's open.
Well, if we have a better space, I mean, you know, the
Oh, it
food
could be.
pantry could be open more if we have the space and
That'd be
and the
great.
people to volunteer. I mean,
But that's 3 years out. Well, this is
right,
3 years
oh,
out.
but yeah, well, that's what this is, 3 years out.
Yeah,
You're thinking
I
of
just
your-
didn't know if we had, if it was underneath any of this, but
Oh,
sneak it in with the clothes or something.
Okay.
There is a phone number to call. I know that he has delivered or had people pick up if there was a critical need.
Oh, okay, I know.
It's
Pantry,
not,
so
I don't think
can-
it's something he advertises because he's a volunteer himself.
He works a lot, I know.
So that makes me think of something else, and that's communication about whatever transpires. You know, I think that's been an issue, like, oh, I've learned a lot. Oh, we do this, we do that. And whatever this center is able to offer, I want to be sure everybody in town knows about it, whenever that is, so.
That is a problem that needs to be solved.
Communication.
Yep.
yeah.
I know, because that screen there down by the fire station really isn't working. It was working for a while, but then you can kind of see the images, but it's not.
It's broken, they're fixing it. There's some
Well,
part.
they
that-
did fix it. It was
Yeah,
working.
but now it's out, down again.
Oh, it's down again.
But you're only getting people there that are going out of town.
Right.
But yes, we need some sort of combination, Wyndham Eagle, online presence, Facebook, word of mouth, newspaper.
Yeah, communication is,
Mm.
I'm feeling.
All right, I want to try to stay respectful of everybody's time, and so I think we need to wrap it up. We have several items that I think will carry over to our next meeting, like the posted idea. I think we can maybe start out with some of that next week. Next meeting is June 2nd, and then when I was looking at the Reman webpage, they've already got it scheduled for June 16th as well, which I didn't have on my personal calendar, but they've got it scheduled for that, so. Right now, those are the only two meetings. If we need or feel like we want to go further,
So
then,
not the 9th? Oh, 9th is close to voting, right?
Yeah, I think we moved it because of,
The 16th.
Yeah.
Oh,
voting.
yeah.
Because of the
Okay, so
voting.
no, none on the 9th.
Yeah,
Oh,
nothing on
that's
the
good.
right.
Good. And, you know, we have to remember that Joe now will be a part of the next committee. And he, you know, I mean,
Right,
he'll be,
A
you know,
good
he's
conduit.
heard it all here.
right.
relay it.
That's right.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting,
better or
too, in that Barry Tibbetts is the chair of their committee,
Oh.
but he is a non-voting
Voting.
member.
There's a lot of them that are non-voting. All the town employees
yeah.
are non-voting,
Yeah,
not,
kind of interesting.
yeah.
Just more food for thought.
Mm.
I don't see any public comments. Last committee comments, thoughts?
Pete, Kayla was not online when you congratulated
Right.
her, so
Yes, Kayla, we kind of started out the meeting and wanted to congratulate you for the award that you got for Maine Citizen Planner of the Year. And just thought that was great recognition. And the article, read it in the Wyndham Eagle, and well done. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I still maintain the fact that that was a big group effort. We especially could not have gotten as far as we did without North Star Planning and also Peter Levitt.
Excellent. I think you may have also missed the first part of it.
Yeah,
Right.
we-
Thank you.
Sets it up.